Thank you all so much for coming out.
Want a microphone?
I can if you want.
There you go. Only if you want.
Test? Holy moly, okay. Hi everyone, my name's Eric Liga. I'm Chief Scientist at NetEdge VR. We're a company that builds VR training experiences. Right now we're doing work for airline ground crews. We've also done sort of museum experiences for the Linear Theological Library and the chapel. So before the meetup, I'm going to talk a little bit about the science and engineering of VR and AR. VR and AR cross over into biology, psychology, sociology, all sorts of things, but this time we're just going to be very focused on the underlying tech. So, VR and AR date back to like 1968, a prototype called the Sword of Damocles by Ivan Sutherland, but modern VR dates back to Palmer Luckey. He was a 19-year-old kid that was obsessed with VR, building VR headsets in a trailer on his parents' driveway. And the key insight that he had was that the technology before hadn't been there, but cellular phones, smartphones, had taken a lot of things that were out of reach and democratized them, made them inexpensive, lightweight, and so on. So high-resolution screens, inertial measurement units, so on, things like that. So he put together what is commonly called the duct tape prototype and showed it to John Carmack, the guy who created Quake and Doom. And they were showing it around, and Oculus came out of that, and the entire modern VR era came out of that. So the other central conceit that he figured out was previously VR headsets had expensive, heavy, complex optics to wrap the screen around you, to immerse you in the image. And he realized that we had come far enough on graphical acceleration that you could take cheap plastic lenses and create a profile of the distortion that they introduced, and you could reverse that distortion when you rendered each frame so that when it came out through the lenses, it was clear. It wrapped around you, but it was clear. And that was kind of, those things right there were what created modern VR. So there's a lot of pieces you need for a VR or AR headset. One is orientation tracking, knowing what direction that you're looking. So pitch, roll, yaw. And what you do is you need an accelerometer, a gyroscope. For kind of dead reckoning, you need a magnetometer. And traditionally, a gyroscope, something like this, you guys have probably seen, I'm sure. But that's not practical to put into modern electronics. So you have something called a MEMS IMU. Let me hide that bit right here so that it's not covering up part of the screen. Basically, you've got a mass at the center that it vibrates, and as the headset moves around, it deflects the motion, and it can detect that. This is a 3D printed large model that just gives you conceptually, but this is exactly how it works at a small level. The ones that existed at the time, they started kind of the modern VR era, were not good enough for what they needed. They thought they would be, but they ended up having to push things up to read at about 1,000 samples per second to be sufficiently accurate, so they made their own. So once you know what direction you're looking, you need to know where you are in the virtual world. You need position tracking. And there's a lot of ways to do this, and that's changed a lot over the years, and some of these older techniques are actually still in use. The first thing we saw was called constellation position tracking for the Oculus Rift. There were infrared LEDs hiding under the surface of the plastic. There were pulsing Hamming codes so that you could identify which ones they were individually. They're invisible to the naked eye, but you had two cameras, and they could triangulate. As long as they could see 3 of those dots from each of the cameras, they could triangulate in space where the headset was. That worked pretty well, but you had to stay within a very limited range of the cameras, and if you were facing away from the cameras, it didn't work. So kind of the next generation thing you saw that came out of HTC and Valve is called lighthouse tracking. This is an incredibly beautiful and elegant solution. So if you look up there, those are one of the lighthouse base stations. You put a couple of those in the corners of the room. That big flash at the beginning, followed by those 2 drums rotating, they're pulsing infrared light, and those are infrared lasers on the 2 drums. How many of you have ever calculated whether a storm is getting closer or further by the lightning flashing and then counting until the thunder? Anybody know that trick? Yeah, okay. This operates exactly the same way. That pulse right there is the lightning, And then each of those is the thunder. So on your headset, you have a whole array of extremely lightweight, inexpensive infrared sensors keyed to these frequencies. They detect the pulse and they start counting. When they see the first sweep, they know that's how far they are horizontally around that drum, and the second one, how far they are vertically. So you now know where you are in space. As long as any 3 sensors can read one of those, it knows where it is relative to that base station. You don't have to have any communication between the base station and the headset, and you can have as many devices as you want within that space using that tracking. It is sub-millimeter accurate. The additional hardware on the headsets is lightweight, inexpensive, and the calculations are extremely cheap to do. So this is a very elegant solution. The only problem is you have to have these base stations, and you have to stay within the tracked area of the base stations. Yeah.
Is this pre or the same time as like the Rift with those little?
Same time, or it's basically the same time. This was the competing system that came out of HTC for the Vive and their ecosystem. Both ecosystems theoretically were open, but HTC's was a lot more open. So you still see this in use a lot because it is so precise and you can do a lot of different things in the same area. For convenience, though, you want to be able to use VR anywhere. You want to be able to just throw a headset on and use it. So you go for inside-out tracking. You have cameras on the headset looking out at the world to try and determine where you are in the world. Early methods, they threw fiducial markers all over everything. That's clearly not practical, but that was kind of the proof of concept. So they moved on to what's called SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping. This is what NASA uses for like the Mars rovers and so forth. A lot of robots use this. You have 2 cameras, and they find features around the room that it can latch onto, and then it calculates kind of your position relative to those features as you move through the room. This is showing SLAM for tracking your position as you go down the halls. The advantage is this works everywhere. The disadvantage is it requires much better hardware. You have to have expensive high-res, high-speed cameras, and this SLAM tracking is not inexpensive processing. Also, if you're in a situation where like you're on just a large, flat, featureless concrete slab and open sky, it does not work well. You need features to latch onto. But for most people, if you're in your home, your school, whatever, this is going to work great. And that's the solution that we've come to on a lot of modern headsets. Other options was something that was pioneered by Microsoft with the HoloLens is using an infrared depth mapper to actually create a mesh mapping of your room and use that for navigation. The Quest 3 and some of the other headsets do actually have an infrared mapping system, although the lower tier one, the Quest 3S, uses purely optical to do the same thing. The cool thing about doing this is that you can know about things like furniture, doors, and with some of the newer stuff, you can actually respond in real time as those things change. Someone opens a door, closes a door, or some person walks into the room. Depending on the positioning of the cameras, that gives you a pretty wide field of coverage also for tracking your hand trackers or your bare hands. And so those cameras typically do double duty for that. Other thing you need are advanced displays. You got to display the world that you're stepping into. One of the things they discovered fairly quickly was that the normal way of displaying things on the screens made people sick because it came across as blurry. And the reason was that the image on the screen stayed on the screen until the next frame came to replace it. And as your head is moving around, if the image is staying still, you end up perceiving that as blur and people start to feel ill. So they created a tech called low persistence. Basically, they pulse the image at you, and then the screen is actually dark until the next frame. This is how you see it like movie theaters. They project a frame, and then it's dark until the next one. Your brain fills it in, persistence of motion, persistence of vision. The negative is that the less time you illuminate the screen, the dimmer it is. So you have to crank up the brightness to compensate, which uses more battery and so forth. Other thing is we keep wanting higher and higher resolution for more and more details. And there's never been a particular reason to have extremely small displays with extremely high resolutions prior to now. So this is actually driving a lot of innovation in figuring out how to cram more pixels into smaller spaces. One of the big advances has been using micro OLEDs, which are actually fabbed like computer chips rather than like traditional monitors. Those are incredibly small and incredibly high resolution. That's what you use in like the Apple Vision Pro. Meta has also been testing some unique like holographic displays and so forth that have the advantage that they're extremely thin and lightweight. Because they're really, the holy grail is sunglasses form factor. You throw on a pair of sunglasses, you step into another world. Or you throw on a pair of sunglasses and you see the real world, but other things are overlaid into it. So they're working hard towards that. For pass-through, for augmented reality, there's a prototype out of Meta called Orion that gives you like a full field of view of enhanced world. It knows the world, it sees the world around you, and it can overlay information and things. It's been very challenging to get a wide field of view of those displays. So they're actually pioneering things with, they tried to find a material with extremely high index of refraction, and optical grade silicon carbide is what they landed on. It's fabulous, it works perfectly, except nobody makes optical grade silicon carbide. So they said if they made glasses with them right now, they'd be $10,000 a pair. So people are kind of trying to figure out how do we bring the cost down on this. Field of view. Ideally, with VR and AR, you want it to encompass your entire field of view, which is pretty massive. It's actually even a little beyond 180, so kind of out to 210. Although, really, you only see in full detail where your fovea is looking, kind of that central portion. And as you get out further and further, it's mostly just rods, so you're getting motion and contrast. The traditional way to expand field of view is just to make the screens bigger and the headsets bigger, but that's bulky, it's awkward, it's not practical for long-term things. This is the form factor they want. This is their HoloCake 2 prototype, which is a conceptual prototype. So you use optics to solve this. You use lenses. So this is a Fresnel lens that they used on the Vive, which was able to show like a much wider, clear spot and a good projection all around you. The had some negatives though. We'll talk about that. You see those those ridges right there. They had some very cool optical properties, but when you had high contrast edges, you got these things called crepuscular rays or God rays. There were some competitors. This is a company called Lynx out of France that uses these cardioid lenses, which have some really unique properties. A lot of other people just sort of fused lenses together. So you just basically kind of fuse central lenses with these extended lenses. The problem is you get a lot of distortion in the periphery, which is really distracting. So you don't want that. So what a lot of them landed on are what are called pancake lenses. They've got these layered lenses that are half polarized and light reflects back and forth between them. It basically folds space so that you're covering the same distance multiple times, which means that you can bring the screen much closer to your eyes and you can spread it out over a larger area. For pass-through, typically they use what are called waveguides, which are completely flat. The negative is it's very hard to get a wide field of view with them. Eye tracking, which is starting to become a critical element for a lot of things, turns out to be one of the most difficult things that they're trying to do. Everybody's eyes are different. They also move very fast. And the pupil, the thing you're trying to track, is a lot more fluid than you think it is. It doesn't stay a circle. It'll actually deform as it moves. So tracking is, high quality tracking is very difficult. Not to mention you need extremely fast, extremely high quality cameras, very close to the eye, working in infrared conditions. So and you can see like the array of infrared emitters around the lenses for that. I'm gonna skip over talking about. You can actually do something called foveated rendering, which is extremely cool, where you only draw in full detail exactly where they're looking because your eyes really don't see detail everywhere else, but you have to have extremely fast, extremely high quality eye tracking to do that. The other major thing is tracking your eyes allows you to create eye contact in VR, which is kind of a very fundamental human connection. If you can't make eye contact with someone that you're talking to, they feel lifeless like mannequins. So there's an important social element to that too. Gesture detection. For a lot of the ones that don't use controllers, things like the Apple Vision Pro, you're just doing bare hand tracking and tracking your gestures. You can do that optically, which is what Apple does, but some of the next generation stuff, they use these wristbands that snap on. Ted, you here? Yeah, hold one up, he's got one right there. And That actually interprets the electrical signals going to your muscles, and it can pick up what hand gestures you're making, even if your hands are behind your back or out of sight. This was an early prototype of that called the Imio. Body tracking is kind of in its infancy for VR. Kind of the old systems were OptiTrack. Basically, you put like ping pong balls all over people and then track them with cameras. Not practical for general use. Vive has these tracking pucks that you can attach, which are a little better, but they are bulky and expensive, and people generally just don't want to strap a bunch of things to their body. It can be done optically if you have a camera externally and they're playing with that. The quality of that tends to be a little lower. Other big thing is for presence. If you're interacting with people, you want very lifelike avatars, and that's something that Meta has been doing pioneering work and Apple's been doing pioneering work on. One of these is video, the other is actually rendered, and it's actually quite hard to tell the difference. They've been working through this for a while. They said at the time they did this demo, they said it would take 10 miracles to bring this to market. Asked them last year, and they're down to 3, so they're getting closer. Originally, you had to be captured in one of these photospheres that had 1,024 DSLRs capturing you from all directions, and you did this long capture phase where they tracked you with making different expressions and poses, and then they would send it to a supercomputer and chew on it for a few hours, then you'd have the avatar. And so you get kind of the surfaces there, and then you're layering textures on top of that. And so in theory, you can actually puppeteer someone else's face. You can drive other faces. When I first got my Apple Vision Pro, for one day, they did not lock it down to prevent you from doing this. One of my sons scanned himself into it, and then I put the headset on and I looked in the mirror and I saw his face making all the expressions that I was. So it was incredibly creepy, but also completely amazing. Within 24 hours, they locked that down. They won't let you do that anymore. Once you've done the capture, you can do things like change hairstyles, change clothing, things like that. They've got full body codec avatars now, so they're doing full body tracking for that. And this is Apple's version Persona. At the moment, it's purely just face and hands. They're not tracking body at all, but it's getting better and better. It was a little dicey when it first came out, but it's quite good now. Last thing I'm going to just touch on is locomotion. And this is one of the big challenges. In VR, you want to be able to walk infinitely in any direction, go wherever you want, but you're in a physical space, and so you're limited by that physical space. There's a lot of different techniques for working around that. A lot of them are based on sort of an omnidirectional treadmill of some kind. And these have a lot of advantages and disadvantages. They're bulky, they're expensive, and it's easy to lose your balance on them. But they're making some progress, and there's other techniques as well. Kind of the last thing I'll touch on here is all of these things works in progress, and there's something that Michael Abrash, the chief scientist at Meta, said is Hofstadter's law. It always takes longer than you would expect, even when you take into account Hofstadter's law. So a lot of these things are long time horizon, but making good progress. So any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Something that we run into a lot is with our VR simulators, we can, in simulation, we can make the controls move as they should, but hand tracking and haptic feedback, everyone's asking for it.
Right.
I think we had a meeting with Haptics last year, and they were like, oh yeah, it's like $80,000 for a glove. And we're like, okay, that's not gonna work.
Right.
And like, where are we at in that evolution, you know?
Haptics is tricky, definitely, and bare hand tracking also, with controls particularly, like you're talking about, has challenges because of occlusion. The controls get in the way of the cameras, so you get bad tracking. We were doing things with the steering wheels, and there's things behind the steering wheel that's really, really hard to get your hand back there. For a while, there was a company that was doing really good work with external sensors and marrying them all up, so they could see from different directions. You're right. And that actually clears up a lot of things for hand tracking in a simulator like that. As far as haptic feedback, unless you've got haptic gloves or something, that's really challenging. There are some cheaper options than haptics out there, but none of them have been fantastic. I've seen some prototypes that are really good, so maybe they will come to market at some point. We'll be excited as well. Anything else? All right, well, thank you. We'll kind of roll from here on into the meeting here in just a bit. Since John from ITI and Interplay has been on the road, I'm going to actually let him go first ahead of the news and give his presentation. So,
Hey guys, I'm John. I'm with ITI Interplay. We are a training and development company, and we use virtual reality a lot to train the individuals at the organizations we work with. I'm told that we were here 8 years ago. I do not have a simulator with me. I just got off an airplane from Raleigh-Durham about an hour ago, but it's good to be home. What I'm going to talk about today is the thing that when I speak to somebody and they're like, oh yeah, I'm in VR, I'm in XR, I'm in AR, first thing I say is, cool, what do you make? I want to know what they make, and then more importantly, I want to know if it's a game. If they're games, fine, that's cool. But if it's something that's used in industry or used in education or something like that, I want to know. I don't like to say go to market because it's just too corporate-y. But like, what's the practical application for the tech, right? What do you do with it? How do you make it work? And that's kind of where I'm going to focus today. That's where I spend a lot of my time meeting with organizations, figuring out their problems, and then figuring out a solution. And a lot of times it involves VR. Do you have sound? Okay. I'm going to start with a little video to kind of show you what we do. We do lots of things. Ooh, while we're waiting, just real quick, you guys are all students, right? Sweet. Are you guys like interested in this, or just is just kind of like a peripheral thing, or what's the deal? Anybody? Who's brave?
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah? Anything else? Career-wise, maybe, maybe not? Maybe?
I mean, some of it's really interesting in the medicine field because
Absolutely.
you can, like model and like research, like map out, like just even if it's like for practice for like new training
Yeah.
trainees, or like if it's literally just like imaging and like detecting things, and it's just sort of like, or even virtual simulated visualization of like certain organs.
Yeah, and systems, right? I'm not going to talk about any of that today. Where I live is in heavy, heavy industry. But you guys are in Houston, so probably some of you are going to end up there. You guys, what do you, I don't know any of you. I met you, you're awesome. Met you, you're awesome. How are you guys involved with XR, AR, VR, that kind of stuff? Anyone?
Leaders in aviation.
Oh, that's it.
Go ahead.
Aviation.
Real quick. You're aviation? Sweet. And I heard you have an awesome, yeah, I'm going to talk to you about that later. Okay, I'll start the video. For real this time.
Leaders in aviation, medicine, and the military rely on simulation training to build skills without the risks of real-world mistakes. Now, that same proven technology is helping crane operators get hands-on experience in a safe, virtual environment. With our VR crane simulator, you can keep your equipment in service while operators train, giving them the freedom to practice simple to complex lifting scenarios without putting people or machines at risk. And here's the best part. We developed this VR crane simulator in partnership with the original equipment manufacturers. That means what your operators see, feel, and experience in the simulator is as close as it gets to the real thing. From mobile cranes to overhead and tower cranes, every model in the simulator looks, feels, and operates just like the equipment on your job site. Whether you're onboarding new hires, evaluating candidates, prepping for NCCO certification, or giving experienced operators more seat time to build skills, the VR Crane Simulator has you covered. With thousands of scenarios to train on, it's the perfect way to create confident, more experienced operators. Choose a portable desktop setup or an immersive motion-based platform. Both deliver powerful training without the big footprint or cost of traditional multi-screen simulators. High-res VR gives operators a realistic and fully immersive experience. That means they adapt faster, learn quicker, and get more out of every session. We offer flexible options, from controller pods to belly boxes, so you can easily switch between crane types without being locked into one setup. And it's not just great for operators. You get tools that make managing it all simple. Choose from pre-made learning paths or create your own. Increase efficiency by setting passing grades and key scenarios for different learner profiles. Plus, built-in reporting helps you close skill gaps and make sure your team is fully prepared. Safety starts with better training, and that's why we've earned several industry awards for innovation in training and safety. Our customers are seeing safer work sites, faster time to productivity, and less equipment downtime, all while building confidence and skill on the job. Fewer risks, faster results, better performance. It all starts with giving your team the training they deserve. Learn more at www.iti.com.
Sweet, right? It's cool stuff. Okay, so the organization that I work for is actually two companies. We merged about a year ago. I come from the ITI side. We are about a 40-year-old organization. We do training around the world for anything involving dangerous hoisting or lifting or manufacturing, anything involving cranes, right? That's where we live. I say merge because I'm proud. We were bought by Interplay Learning. Is an awesome company out of Austin. It's a software company. They do sort of what we do, but just in a different part of the market. I'm not going to get heavy into that, but they basically train people using online learning and immersive learning from K through 12 all the way through light industrial. So that means like warehousing, plumbing, HVAC, lots of trade type stuff, right? They wanted to invest and put a bunch of money and expand into the heavy industry. Well, we are already working together creating simulations, so we already have that market. So that's who we are, that's what we do. You don't have to take much from this slide except for we train a lot of people. We do this all the time. Based on this number right here, over 250,000 so far. Okay, I hate this slide. I don't like it when I'm in meetings and people are trying to sell things to me and they show me this slide. It feels like bragging. The only reason, forget the logos. What I want you to focus on is the breadth of what we cover, right? Forget the logos are what they are. Manufacturing, aerospace, maritime, utilities, oil and gas, big here. Construction, industrial services, government, pulp. We're missing one off of here. I saw this last night. Education. We're in a lot of primarily 2-year schools, right? So like your community colleges, your colleges of applied technology, those kind of things. So we do a lot of different things with a lot of different people. Okay, I'm going to live on this slide for a little bit. This is sort of the meat of what I want to talk about. How do we actually do what we do? So I wrote this down. Can you guys all get on board with this learning curve? Theory to hands-on to OJT, on-the-job training. Can you guys get down with that? You can extrapolate this. This is very basic, but you can pull this out and apply it to pretty much any learning that you're doing on the job, right? Education, it's going to look a little bit different. Medical school, it's going to look a little bit different, but overall, can you guys be cool with this? Yes? Yes? All right, cool. So, my organization does 3 things, and we do it very, very well. We are very good at what we do. We train people all along this arc. Theory, hands-on, on-the-job training. Real quick, should I define these? Especially the last 2? Does anyone not know what the difference is? And this is not a judgment thing, this is just a baseline thing. Can anyone tell me the difference between hands-on training and on-the-job training? 5, 4, 3. Oh, there he is. What do you got?
Hands-on training is you're just doing the job in any sort of capacity. On-the-job training is you're doing your job on location.
You are mostly right. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for jumping in there. That's awesome. So the main difference between hands-on learning, you were 90% correct. Theory is prescribed, right? That's set before we ever get into the class. We know what we're going to learn. Same with hands-on. Hands-on is prescribed, right? I'm going to get 2 days with you folks. I have a list of things that you need to know before you get away from me. On-the-job training is
wildly unprescribed. Is that the right word? And it varies differently, not only across different industries, but even within companies within the same industry. These two, theory and hands-on, are short. Those are short engagements. This is usually for an organization, 2 weeks. This sometimes is 1 day. This can be 4 years. Okay? Are you guys with me on that? Yes, cool. So, we do 3 things. We do online learning, we do simulation, and we do instructor-led training. Those 3 pieces fit in, it's like a buffet, right? Those 3 things live in different places, but they bleed into each other. And as tech gets better, as we push forward all this stuff that you were talking about and the questions I'm asking, they're going to bleed even more into each other. But let's start with theory. Theory training. We push online learning very hard here. Online learning is, people are kind of burned out on it, I get that, but it's also the cheapest, most efficient way to deliver theory. There's no other way that's as good, that performs as well as online learning for what it costs. So, online learning lives here. And I'm going to hold this up in a minute. Once someone is finished with their theory training, they move into hands-on training. And we affect that arc in 2 ways. Instructor-led training. Hands down the best, it's better than simulation. Sorry, it just is. It's also about 20 times more expensive, right? That is the best way to deliver hands-on training. So we have ILT right here in the hands-on training. Simulation. Simulation is, and I'll explain why it's, for us especially, it's bleeding into theory and hands-on. Simulation is also one of the cheapest, most effective ways to deliver hands-on training. Our customer base, for instance, I was at a steel manufacturer up by Dallas. We have an NDA in place. I'm not going to tell you who it is. They're wanting to train their overhead crane operators on our simulators. Anytime I'm in a meeting with someone, they say, hey, we want VR. What's the first question I ask VR people? Why? Why? Why do you want VR? Tell me your problems and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. This particular place, in order to train new operators or even do remediation training for current operators who have made mistakes, they have to pull a crane out of production to train them on. That costs them $385,000 an hour in lost production. So we start to see how effective and how cheap VR is. VR simulation lives right between hands-on. It bleeds into hands-on and theory. In talking about the practical application of these things, our customer base is wildly different in that some of them do. I'll hold this up and see if I can multitask. Some of them do this part really well. They don't do this part well, they do this part well, right? So then we figure out a good solution to fix this part. Some of them do these 2 things right, and they need help here. Some of them are an absolute disaster, and we have to create custom training programs for them, which is always the most fun for me. I like to look at that process and figure out where the gaps are. So this is what we're always up against, right here. Cost, time, and making sure that these 3 things get done correctly. I will talk just for a second about on-the-job training. Holy cow, this is going by fast. Okay, on-the-job training, there's not a lot we can do with that. We can create curricula for them to make sure that they're checking the right boxes. We can provide them the technology to do field testing. So if you and I are out in the field, I'm going to watch what you do, and I'm going to make you take an exam. But really, this is, the on-the-job training part is up to the customer. Everything that we're doing, welcome. All right. Everything that we do as an organization has one purpose. This hands-on portion right here, this middle part, this is the most vital time for a learner. You guys are in school. This is the one-on-one with your teacher, right? I don't understand math, okay? Teacher sits down with you, shows you how to do it. And then a good teacher will say, now you show me how to do it, right? Once you can teach it back to them, you should be pretty rock solid on the concept. Everything that we're doing, online learning theory, simulation practice, even our instructor-led training is preparing the students for this hands-on engagement. Sometimes it's with our trainers, sometimes it's with most of the time it's with internal trainers. This is the most vital piece of the learning arc. If you walk away with nothing else, where simulation for us, I would love to sit here and tell you that simulation is a panacea, and I can't tell you how many conversations. Hello? Is this thing still working? I don't need it. It's fine. I can talk loudly. I can't tell you how many times I've talked people out of VR because they have a culture problem, or they have some other personnel problem, or they have a toxic environment, or whatever. I wish that I could sit here and say that VR is a panacea. It's not. However, it is really, really good at what it does, and that is providing safe, real-world practice. You said you're in aviation. Same thing. If you mess up an airplane, you're probably going to die, first of all, and then the insurance companies will get involved, right? We don't want that to happen. Do you guys have any questions about that? I'm just like talking at you. I will start picking on you. I'm a mean presenter. Not really. Do you guys get this? Right? So we're trying to prepare the people for the hands-on engagement, then it's up to the company to finish the job. Go.
For what you provide, who is
the end user?
The tutor, the hands-on trainer.
Great question. That is a fantastic question. Let's live with the crane simulator for a minute, because that's what we were looking at. Your question is, customer gets, Exxon buys 10 simulators. Who's going to run those simulators? So before that ever happens, before we ever install a simulator, we have done a very deep dive into this organization. What are their processes? The question I get all the time is, you didn't put my bio up there, and that's great. I'm actually happy you didn't, but like, how did a guy who's a geophysicist end up in technical sales for a training company, right? It's kind of weird. But first of all, education is never wasted. Write that down. But what we're doing is we get involved with these people, and we're looking at the processes. We have to sign non-disclosure agreements because they're going to show us where all the bodies are buried. It's fine. We need that. This is not a judgmental activity. This is we need a baseline, bro. We need to figure out where you're at so we know where to start. When we bring those simulators into the customer site, before they even arrive, we have built out custom curricula for them based on what we've learned, based on their problems that they're having, based on the lift profiles of what they're picking up. What are they using to pick it up? How many people are involved? How many cranes are involved? Are you lifting from an offshore oil platform onto a moving boat? Are you picking up rebar off a truck and putting it in a yard? So we know all these things. And I'll talk a little bit about how we go to market with that. So we know.
Sorry.
Go.
Each industry is completely separate. So you build from scratch, or is there a lot of overflow?
There's so much overlap. So before I got into this industry, I thought like, oh my gosh, cranes in oil and gas probably doing way different things than cranes in. It's all the same. It's physics, right? How much does something weigh? What are your angles?
What are the tolerances? How tight are you up next to something? What's the wind speed? What's the weather like? It's all the same stuff. Sometimes it's indoors, sometimes it's outdoors, sometimes you're on a dynamic, like if you're on a, anybody here, how many people, parents work in oil and gas here? Couple, okay. So if you're on a semi-submersible rig, that's a dynamic platform. It's gonna be moving. You're gonna be you're going to be hoisting off of a moving target onto another moving target. That's a different thing than if you're on a jackup rig, which is touching the ground. That's a static environment. Is that helpful?
Yeah. So each one is bespoke, but you can actually, they're kind of mix and match lots of.
Yeah, and that's sort of also how we're not a custom development shop. We get the question all the time, hey, can you make this look exactly like this? Sure, bro. It'll be $500,000 in 6 months. Or we have 1,400 different lifts already built into our simulator. So our approach to the market is to get way in front of everybody. And then, of course, we're constantly building more things, little ticky-tacky things. Oh, we pick up our rebar, then we rotate it. And then our question, money people, are, how many other people are doing this? Can we resell this? Yes, we can. Okay, we'll build that. But to kind of answer the question is, how different is it? Is that what we were talking about? Maybe. Hoisting is not that different based on different environments. The physics are always the same. You can't change physics, okay? Okay, I'm gonna have to speed up here. Sorry, guys. Go forward. Inside the sim, maybe. No. Okay, so this is sort of, we're going to start talking about our roadmap a little bit. We've talked about where our things live in the training arc, and I mentioned that it's going to start bleeding into, they're not going to be so well defined anymore. Heavy industry, we've got a lot of that covered. Of course, we're still building content for it constantly, but where we're expanding, especially our VR offerings, is in the trades. So electromechanical, plumbing, safety, pneumatic, hydraulic, robotic. What we're doing is really awesome. We're taking online learning, and it is traditional, especially as you start at the beginning. I'm a beginner plumber. Hey, let's stick with plumbing. I'm a beginner plumber. My first 10 courses that I'm going to take in order to become a certified plumber are going to be video-based, because we're talking about very basic things. Theory stuff, like we said before. This is when it changes. We have started building immersive aspects to our courses. So if you're sitting at your computer taking an online course, when it gets to the hands-on portion, you can either take the whole thing in a headset. It's funny. You guys, your generation, y'all take the whole course in the headset. It's so funny. People that are old like me, I take 90% of the course on the laptop. Then when it comes time for the immersive thing, I put the headset on, do that part, then I take the headset back off. But you guys do it differently, which is cool. But the point is that we're integrating the immersive training into our online learning. We're still, as someone who meets with companies all the time, I still don't know how to sell this yet. I'm learning. But it's only about a year old. But we're having great feedback on it. It's pretty sweet. That's kind of where we're going. And to that point, once we have this rock solid, because you guys know new things are not rock solid, and that's okay. But what's going to start happening is theory, which sort of stops at your traditional online learning, and that's where VR Simulator kind of picks up. It's going to be one solid line to the end. Well, to the instructor portion, right? It's going to be seamless, and that's kind of where we're going, and that's where we see the market going. I thought it would die down in the last 5 years. It really hasn't. The energy around immersive learning. I meet with companies weekly, and they're so excited about this. And it's funny to me because they're like, "Oh yeah, man, this is the wave of the future," and I'm like, I mean, the future's here, dude. It's been here for over a decade. But yeah, okay, I'm with you. It's really cool stuff. Yeah, this is just kind of talking about, I don't care about that. Customer impact and social proof. with the crane simulator, so we're kind of back on the crane simulator, you can see that there's 9 unique crane types. We're actively building more, expanding into new markets, starting to really get into shipbuilding. Matter of fact, in 9 days, I'm going to the Bahamas. Do not get excited. I am not going to the good Bahamas. I'm going to the other one, the industrial Bahamas. But we have a massive customer there who just did a $600 million expansion. They repair cruise ships. They're going to be the largest cruise ship repair facility in the world. And they just spent $60 million on 8 brand new Liebherr luffing jib tower cranes. Liebherr is like the Rolls Royce of cranes. The Germans know how to do it. They do it well. But to that point, we are adding a luffing jib tower crane to our arsenal. This thing's just going to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. More requests, more cranes. And the most exciting metric on all this, how's it going?
How's it going? I just walk right in.
Come on, man. You're good. Roll in. The coolest thing about this is, and I don't know how it is in other industries, I know that aircraft is wildly successful with this. Our customer base, we generally put them on a 3-year contract. We over 90% renew. So we know that this is very, very effective. And that's why we're adding crane types and adding capabilities. We're probably not going to get into dirt moving or forklifts and stuff like that because that market's fairly saturated. But yeah, this is what I wanted to touch on. So how many of you guys are dev folks? Development? Yep. And do you deal with organizations? Do you build like custom stuff for organizations or yourself, or like how does that work? Anybody?
We do both.
You guys do both? Yeah. Okay. So we do not do that. We've done it in the past 5 years. We've done it once for TVA. We don't do that. Our strategy is more of let's create so many different scenarios that when we find ourselves in a discussion with an organization and they're asking us about activities and how do we do this and how do we train this and blah, 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 there's a very good chance that we have content that will cover what they need. You know, the building might be a different color, the cranes might be a different color. They seem to care about that a whole lot till you put the price in front of them to change the color of the cranes. And I think we actually, I'm not in charge of this, but I think we actually like elevate it super high, so we just don't want to be involved with that. There's other companies that do that and they do a great job. That's not where we live. So this says over 1,200 scenarios. That's wrong. I'll send a sharply worded email to marketing. No, just kidding. They're my friends. The last time I counted, it was for an RFP. Like 2 years ago, we had 1,374 individual lifting scenarios. Anyone in this world, that is a lot of stuff. That's a lot of content. And primarily the main reason that we can't have an app in a headset, it's way too heavy. We have to run the program off of a high-speed laptop. Maybe that'll change. That would be super tight if that changed. Yeah, man, we do it all over the world with the crane simulator. Here's another thing that we're getting into, which is, and we don't make these decisions willy-nilly. When we invest in something or start walking down a new road, it's because multiple people have asked us to do it. A lot of times these companies will invest and help pay for it. Field troubleshooting tips, like this right here, everything else that I've talked about, this one thing could like, not wipe that out, but it would be so much, the market is so much bigger for this. Where if you're an electrician, you're a plumber, you're an HVAC person, you know, whatever your day-to-day is, if we had access to, here's what I'm working on, I'm not sure how to do it, kick me over a video for it. Of course it's gonna be AI driven, of course it's gonna be. That right there is the wave. That's what's next, I think. And it's like ubiquitous stuff, right? Like, I don't know, is this rebar? What do I do with this? Click on it. Here's a 5-minute training video on what this is and what it's for and what you're supposed to do with it next. Some of my manufacturing customers were telling me, earlier this week that they've started to, I did not know this was a thing. This was super cool. They put QR codes all around their plants. I see heads nodding. Y'all know about this? I didn't know about this. So if you're working in a confined space, which is very dangerous, right? They can click that QR code and it will immediately pop up on their phone and show them all the quick escape routes. Come on, that's awesome.
Step 1 in any electrical job: establish an electrically safe work condition. Identify, lock out, and test before you touch. Ready to try it yourself?
This is where practice meets progress. Let's get started.
Look at the electrical diagram. How many possible sources of supply do you see? That's right. Always confirm all possible sources.
So that's where we're going, right? That's the road. I am at time. I have like 30 more things to talk about, but I will finish up by saying that I want to go back to this. This is what I want. This is the take home. This is your take home knowledge. For now, VR lives right there. As we move forward, I think that it's going to bleed all the way over into the beginning of on-the-job training. I really do. There's a huge need in multiple markets for that. A lot of times when companies' budgets get tight, training and development is the first thing they cut, which is not good. Usually accidents follow. But I'll finish. I see. Okay, that's cool. Where we are at today, VR is a vital part of all of those markets that I talked about. Not just us. There's hundreds of other organizations that are doing similar things to us, using immersive learning to safely, effectively train their folks. One last thing I really wanted to hit on. This is the most important. This is one of the most important things. What makes a customer or what makes an organization successful using virtual reality or immersive learning or any of the R's, AR, XR, VR? What's the difference between one that does a good job with it, loves it, brings it to bear, trains their people, they love it, or someone who churns within 12 months?
Support.
Yes, support is a big one. The biggest, and this is the fight that I have all day, every day. If an organization takes care to build VR into their current curricula, and what I mean by that is it's a requirement. It's not an option. Now when we're having these discussions with management, I always tell them it's a 3-generational problem. First generation is going to fuss. No, I don't want to do this. This is new. I don't like change. Change is bad. Grr. Can't stop that. That's just going to happen. Second generation, and when I'm talking about generations, we're talking about quarters behind, right? Like people that have been there for a while, new training class comes in March, next one comes in October. These are the generations I'm talking about. Gen 2 comes in. They say, why do we do this? Why do we have to do this? Generation 1 says, I don't know, I hate it. They changed it, and I don't like it, but you have to do it. And they're like, okay. So they do it, begrudgingly. Gen 3 comes in the door. Call it 9 months later. They ask Gen 2, why do we have to do this? And Gen 2 says, it's just what we do. It's a 3-generational problem, it's a 3-generational solution. Back to physics. It's also the same conversation. The energy that you put into this project on the front will be exactly equal to the results you get out the back. I'm going to mind my mouth. If you lollygag in the front, you're going to get weak results. If you put a lot of energy, a lot of thought, a lot of communication behind this change, you're going to get that equal thing out the back. So what makes this stick and what makes this effective is buy-in from leadership. When leadership buys in and says, guys, we need a change, we've got problems. VR is not going to fix it, but it's going to help. And VR, as effective as it is still only a small part of that change, but a very effective one. Where companies fail is when a lot of times with new tech, companies will bring in new tech to bolster their, look how cool we are, look how forward thinking we are, we're so awesome. We've spent $1 million on VR. And then they put it in a room and say, put up signs, hey guys, when you have time, go in and check it out. That thing will be collecting dust in 6 weeks, okay? Very unsuccessful, horrible use of time, horrible use of financial resources, waste of my time, waste of my company's time, horrible waste of everyone involved with their organization's time. This is something we've learned over time, right? In the beginning, we're like, yeah, you want to buy a sim? We'll sell you a sim. That's not the thing anymore. We have ideal customer profiles. We stick to those hard. So that's really what, and I'm obviously over. Sorry about that. So those are really the things that I wanted you to take away. Where in my industry VR lives. It's wildly successful, but it lives in a small, necessary space. And then kind of what the difference is between rock solid adoption versus this doesn't work. Those are the real differences. Thank you so very much, you guys. Oh, any questions? Sorry. Yeah, I forgot to say that.
I just want to say I got to use your crane sim.
Okay.
Y'all were here before.
Yeah.
It's extremely impressive.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
I've used it as an exemplar to people when they ask me what is VR good for.
Yeah.
And I thought it was especially good for training people in conditions that were perhaps hazardous.
Yes.
They could work out their mistakes in VR instead of on the job.
It's one of those things like aviation where it is a pure fit. It is a physical activity that is affected by the elements, and if you can manipulate those elements into unfavorable operating environment, then let's go.
I used it for 5 minutes and I learned things.
Yeah.
It's like when it's high noon, you're not getting the same feedback
Yeah.
as shadows.
Yep.
You know? It's like,
And since then, that was a really long time ago. We've added a lot of stuff, a lot of scary stuff, equipment failures, sling failures, wind gusts. If you're in the motion base and that wind kicks up, man, it's. Oh, and I don't like heights. The tower crane, forget about it. Forget about it. Anybody else have any questions? What you got?
Does this lead to career-based certification?
That's a really, really hard question to answer. Yes and no. So in the little sales video that you saw, you hear the gentleman talking about this will prepare you for NCCCO. There's also NCCER. Yes, people use our simulator. So we have our training center in Pasadena, right? People are coming there all the time to get a CCO for some sort of crane type. They practice for hours on our simulator. However, in order to get that certification, it is still a third-party proctored exam. So we cannot affect really the outcome of that. But really the other side of that is, with the vast majority of our customer base outside of construction. Construction runs in its own, it's got OSHA, it's got its own standards. My biggest customer, the people that I'm dealing with all the time, tend to be in manufacturing, aerospace, oil and gas. They do not, most companies don't require certification. And actually when I'm having this conversation with customers, like, hey, I want to get my guys certified. Why? It's expensive. It's not focused training. It's like, what is the most effective for our customer base is a rock solid internal qualification. So if you go to work for Ford Motor Company, Gerdau Steel, Nucor, any of these companies, you do not need a CCO. But their internal qualification programs are much more rigorous than is a CCO. And the other large difference between that CCO, like I said, is like, it's like it paints with it doesn't teach you to do anything well. It covers a lot of topics in a short amount of time. You take a test, you go. And if you told me like, hey man, I'm really good at running cranes, I got a CCO, that means nothing to me. The best crane operators in the world that I've been around, a lot of them don't have a CCO, but they've been at organizations where they've been through much more rigorous internal qualifications, internal testing, and 3-year requals, 2-year requals. They're required to take rigging courses, field leadership courses. internal qualification training programs that the larger organizations have, and the other ones are trying to catch up to, are a much more rigorous and effective training than is a CCO. They can practice for it, but at the end of the day, it's a third-party proctored exam. It's still on them to take that. And the last thing I'll say about that is, that process to me, I don't love it because it's very intimidating. Like, we have people come that I know that they're fantastic crane operators, worked for Exxon for 20 years, lifting all kinds of things all over the world, and they go in and they fail. Not because they're a bad crane operator, because this is nerve-wracking as heck. Like, you're in there and it's like it's like the SATs, man. It's like there's someone like standing over you, and it's just I don't like it. It's not a conducive environment for training or testing, I think. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably a lot more than you wanted. Any other questions? Young people, what do you think?
It's amazing.
My kid would say mid. Dad, it's mid. Is that what you guys say?
It sounds like interesting.
You're right, it is interesting. Well, cool. Anybody else? No?
I will just throw out that about 8 years ago, I went out to Pasadena. I took some of their training, and then I went and operated a crane. And the skills they were teaching me transferred one-to-one. It was exceptional.
Yeah, we get very good results with the crane simulator. The other funny thing about our company is we've got all these giant bearded dudes that look like they could beat up everybody. They're the kindest people. These are our trainers. These guys are flying all over the world doing this. And then that's on one side of the room. On the other side of the room, we have a bunch of people that look a little bit older than y'all with the purple hair and the nose rings. Those are our development people. And it's funny, they kind of like sequester themselves. But at the end of the day, everybody gets along great. They speak completely different languages. They look different, but everybody gets along. So it's a nice, weird thing, but fantastic. Anything else?
So I'm gonna just kind of hit AR and VR news for the last month. I'll move fairly quickly through it. This is our YouTube channel. If anybody wants to catch previous lectures, we just started capturing those a couple months ago. All right, so we're Houston VR. We've been doing this for about 11 years now, once a month. We've had a lot of different folks out to speak over the years, and we've also done a lot of outreach, Startup Week, Maker Fair, Immersive Technology Conference, stuff with schools and colleges. So follow-up for folks who saw the X Arcade presentation a couple of months ago. The Pinball Haptics Upgrade is live now, so if you guys are interested in that, that is available for order. Also, for people who were at the Walkabout Mini Golf a couple months ago, they got their new mini golf course out, which is set in an abandoned carnival. It's for Halloween. It's a lot of fun. Very good course. James Cameron's been partnering with Meta, and they've got an exclusive preview of Avatar Fire and Ash in the TV app. It used to be featured front and center. It's not anymore, but if you fire up the TV app and search for Avatar, it's on there. Extremely high quality 3D video, very impressive. Cameron is a big believer in it being actually the best way to view his content. Steam Next Fest, for those of you who do PC VR, Next Fest is a lot of fun. A lot of people building games and applications have free demos out during that week, so there's a lot of cool stuff to download, but that is PC VR, not standalone. Anduro, this is, you guys remember Paul Berlucki, the kid that started Oculus from his parents' garage. He got fired from Meta/Facebook, long story, but went off and formed another company called Anduro, which is defense tech. He wasn't able to compete in the VR space for about a decade, but he is now, and he is bringing the tech in hard and heavy with what's called the Eagle Eye platform, and it's got a lot of different variants on that. This is one of their gears. It's got pass-through, it's got optical augmented reality, and then you've got other ones that are video pass-through that have like a full face shield. I presume that flips up in case of emergency, but the cool thing is that's facial armor, so you're blast protected. There's a couple of videos here kind of showing a little bit, it's a little choppy coming through up there, but they're doing night vision, they've got overhead view coming in from drones, and the cool thing with Anduril's tech is all of the pieces talk to each other. And so as long as anyone can see something, you can see it. So you'll see here in a moment, let's see, is this in this one? I guess, yeah, it's identifying people, but if you go to the next one here, a couple of those soldiers are about to go behind that thing. They've got a drone up here that's picking them up. So it's actually drafting them in behind so that he knows where they are. He sees the enemy combatant on the behind the other piece and knows what's going on even though he can't see through them. Yeah?
How, maybe you don't know this, but
yeah.
How are the different systems communicating? Is it satellite?
I am not positive, but I believe satellite. Yeah, almost has to be because, I mean, this has got to be able to work anywhere in the world. So. This isn't going to go wide until 2027, but they actually have prototypes out there that they're doing testing. This is the Super Soldier program. It's the one that originally Microsoft got the contract for, and we're using HoloLens 2s. Went terribly. People got sick, didn't work well. They kicked Microsoft off the contract. Anduril's on it. And honestly, if anybody's got the technical chops to do this, it's probably Palmer Luckey. So, what's going on there? I'm not sure. All right. So Samsung. They had announced it was originally called Project Muhan, now it's Galaxy XR. There's going to be an announcement October 22nd. It's going to launch in South Korea first. This is a high-end, productivity-oriented headset. It's competing in kind of the same space as the Apple Vision Pro, but it may be half to two-thirds the price. So this will be the first product to market with the Android XR platform, which is very much not a gaming platform, it's a productivity platform. Apple, they are going to start selling PSVR 2 hand trackers directly from their store. You can already pair them with the latest one for applications that support them for situations where you want hand tracking even kind of outside of the range where it can do optical hand tracking. The new Vision Pro just got announced. Identical to the first gen, except it has an M5 chip and an improved strap. The original knitted strap was not very comfortable, and they had a dual strap that worked better but looked terrible. This is kind of their solution. They finally got a better strap. And if you have an Apple Vision Pro, you can buy the strap separately. So there's supposed to be a true second generation called the Vision Air, which is significantly cheaper and lighter weight. It's coming in a year or two. I'm not sure what the status on that is now. The dev and R&D teams that were dedicated to that just got reassigned to smart glasses. The Meta Ray-Bans have been so incredibly popular that Apple is seeing that as their high profit direction to go. I assume this is probably just shelved for a bit later because they've thrown a lot of money and effort into it, but it'll probably delay it. Up until a month ago, the only way you could shoot immersive video for Apple Vision Pro was using cameras that they had custom built. There were 6 of them, and you had to go check them out from them. There were no third-party cameras. Blackmagic came out with cameras just last month that will make compatible content. The Moto GT short on there is the first one captured with it. It's very good, looks excellent. And they're going to live stream select Lakers NBA games in this. This is, I believe, the first time we're seeing really, really high-quality live streaming sports. So I'm really excited to see that, even though I'm not really a sports person. So. Pimax. I'm always on the fence about covering Pimax because they talk a good game, but every time I try their hardware, it doesn't live up to the talk. But they occasionally do nail it. And there's a piece of hardware called the Pimax Air that, at very least, on paper, looks really, really good. They have delayed it for, I believe, the 3rd time, but they said that the Lighthouse-based version is going to be shipping in December, and the Slam-based version will be shipping next year. They're using some really unique optics. This is kind of what I was talking about with them doing optics to try and get wide field of view with very small screens. They've got these concave optics, and they get the widest field of view yet out of micro OLED screens. It's about 110 degrees, which is slightly better than a Quest 3. There's 2 models, the Air and the Air SE. The Air is their high-end model. It's got 4K screens. Both of them do self-adjusting IPD and self-tightening head straps. They're both super light, 170 grams for the high end, 140 grams for the low end, compared with like a 515 gram Quest 3. And that's pushing down into the big screen Beyond 2's territory where it's like some of the lightest stuff out there. So these are potentially really interesting headsets. We're just going to have to see if they actually deliver. All right. This is the story that has been going. I looked back. I've been telling this story for 6 years now, at least. Valve has been planning to release a headset, and it's been in skunk works. You have to understand the culture at Valve is an anarchy. There is no management structure. Teams form ad hoc, and they either ship or they don't, which means it makes it very difficult to predict when things are going to ship and if they're going to ship. It does look like they are finally going to ship. It was previously internally called Deckard. It looks like it's going to be called the Steam Frame. It has entered mass production. It's on the production lines now. It will ship before the end of the year.
Is this primarily gaming?
Yes, primarily gaming, but also productivity. It's got standalone capabilities, but it'll also pair with a PC and very high-end screens and so forth in it. The Valve Index was one of the best headsets of its day and is still in heavy use, so I'm actually really excited to see them bring that up to modern. Brad Lynch, sadly it's Bradley on YouTube, is the guy that really has been go-to for this. Every time they release new drivers, he string busts them and like gets all the information out of them. Standalone capable, has inside-out tracking. This is, Valve is a 900-pound gorilla. If they were a publicly traded company, they would be the 7th largest company in the world. They have the money to actually compete with Meta. This is probably not going to directly compete with the Quest. The Quest is down that $300 to $500 range. This is right up around $1,000. A lot of people bought Indexes at $1,000, but it's a sort of a niche market. So we're going to have to see if this comes down. There are rumors there's actually 2 models, a high-end and a low-end model. So I don't know if that's true. If so, that could be really interesting.
So the one you just showed,
Yeah.
I see that one in the field all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Companies that make like standalone VR, like Lincoln Welding is one of them. They sell a lot of their welding VR.
Yeah.
And they use those headsets, and I asked them about them, and they said they're amazing and they're bulletproof. Like they are very, people drop them, people stomp them, and they're fine.
The build quality is fabulous. The component quality is fabulous. The Index's audio has never been equaled for people who care about that. So it should be good hardware, and for certain uses, it could be very, very useful. Lynx is a company out of France. They had a headset called the R1 that they did a Kickstarter for, had really unique optics to it, was going to be the first one to come out with color pass-through, but they were slow to market and kind of lost the initiative. So they kind of fizzled, but they're coming out with a new headset soon. They said there's going to be an announcement next month. They use these weird cardiotropic lenses which give you the wide field of view and the short throw between the screen and your eyes that pancake lenses do, but with none of the light loss. You lose up to 90% of your light with pancake lenses. The lenses are so intriguing, Apple bought the lens company, and because Lynx had a pre-existing contract, they are the only company other than Apple that's allowed to use them. So they've got a competitive advantage there. I don't know if Apple will use those in future products. They have not yet used them. Meta. So the Ray-Ban display glasses launched a few days after the last meetup. I know a number of us got demo slots and went out and demoed it, and one of us bought one, and will be talking to us after this about having lived with it for a month. So excited to hear all of Ted's insights after having actually lived with it. These are the first Meta Ray-Bans that I would actually consider getting. They've got a lot of really cool features, but a lot of them haven't rolled out yet. I have some privacy concerns, and the displays are still fairly limited, but it's heading in the right direction. So this is kind of, I think, the very first one that sort of tips into genuinely useful field wearable AR. The company that produced the waveguides for that wanted everyone to know, yes, it has a tiny waveguide in it. We absolutely can scale up. They can do much wider field of view. Unsure exactly where that tops out. I know that Meta has had to go to exotic substances to get above like the 70-degree mark, but clearly they can go well above the 20. This is the first survey from Steam where the Quest 3 and 3S has actually had a larger presence than the Quest 2 and the other Quest headsets combined. So it is now finally the dominant headset on Steam. Now, Steam is not necessarily representative of the general population. These are probably techier, more hardcore users that are using it on Steam. Nevertheless, this is a tipping point. You're actually seeing Quest 3 become dominant, which took a while, but it is now happening. Firmware 81, the newest firmware coming out from Meta, it is in the process of rolling out. Some of you have it. I know a few of you are running 81. I am not yet. I haven't made the jump. And even if you have 81, there's some features they haven't fully toggled on for everyone. But one of the coolest things is, as long as you are on a network with a machine running the Link application, it will now offer the desktop VR games in your interface just as part of your library. So it takes that whole point of friction of having to do the Link connection and then bringing up a different interface and navigating to it. You just click on it, it works, and it takes you right back out, which is phenomenal. And if you have multiple machines in the same network, it'll display from all of them. So extremely cool feature, long overdue. They completely overhauled the home environment. It's coming in using a new engine that they've written from the ground up. The visuals are much higher quality. It has the ability to dock widgets and windows and so forth in the environment that stay persistent. So you can put, there's not a bunch of them to start, and right now it's only letting you dock, I believe, 6 windows. It's supposed to let you dock 12, but they said they're going to roll that out. So very curious to see where they're going with this, but this is that old environment was getting pretty long in the tooth, and one of the big things is it's going to become a lot more social. So people can come visit you in your home environment, play games, watch movies, play cards, whatever. So 81 also supports a bunch of new aspect ratios for Windows 11 virtual screens, including the ultra-wide displays, which is something that Apple Vision Pro has traded on pretty heavily for productivity use. My son uses the Apple Vision Pro specifically for the giant ultra-wide screen views. So I may have to finally give in and upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11 to do that. At Connect, and we talked about this a little bit last month, there's something called Hyperscape, which uses Gaussian splats captured of an environment to give you this hyper-real environment. It really does feel like you are standing in the environment. They captured like Gordon Ramsay's kitchen, and you can go explore it, and if you didn't know you weren't looking through pass-through, you would think you were looking through pass-through. You do have to have a very fast net connection to run it, because a lot of this is actually being rendered in the cloud. But they promised last year that you would be able to capture your own environments and bring them in. And then we heard absolutely nothing about it for a year, and then they came back and said, okay, now you have to be running firmware 81 and running the beta of Hyperscape, but you can actually capture your home environments, upload them, and use them as environments. Eventually, they said some people have the ability to share them, and that's going to be rolled out to more users. Yeah?
So they're fundamentally using LiDAR, so the point cloud lives in the cloud?
Yeah, what they're doing, it starts off, it does a basic geometric mesh using the LiDAR and the optical tracking to get a basic mesh. Then what you do is you walk around up really close next to all of it, and the grid disappears. And that's as it's capturing data that it's going to use to make a Gaussian splat. And then all of it gets uploaded to the cloud, it chews on it, then it cloud renders it and goes. And I'm actually going to tab over. Chris Green captured his workshop, and I'm going to show you the capture there. So this is not live video. This is rendered. This is walking around Chris's Hyperscape capture.
And the software will combine the photogrammetry with the point cloud, like automatically?
Yes. Well, do you know what a Gaussian splat is? Vaguely. Okay. It's slightly different. It's not photogrammetry. With photogrammetry, you generate geometry and then you map textures onto it. With Gaussian splats, it's like you have a point cloud that is sort of mist, and they're translucent ovals that layer on top of each other from all these perspectives to give you the thing. So there's no geometry to it at all, but it does correctly handle reflection, refraction, surface.
Would you say it's like a poor man's? Is it just like slightly less detailed?
No, it's actually more detailed. It has some limitations, but there's some people doing really interesting work. We'll do a revisit to Gaussian splats at some future meetup, because there are people doing pioneering work on getting past a lot of the limitations so that you can like cast shadows on them and interact with them and actually set things on them. It has like surface geometry, which it did not previously. So they're kind of blending some of the advantages of photogrammetry. But there's a lot of things that photogrammetry handles very badly, like fine details and meshes, like lots of stuff gets lost in that, and this actually does extremely well with that. The negative is that it requires heavy enough rendering that at the moment the headsets cannot do it on headset. They have to be cloud rendered and brought down, which means you need a very fast connection. So, but that was Chris's workshop that he captured. Yeah. Yes.
Wait, how is that a benefit in the field, or what do they use that for?
Currently, it's a proof of concept. They're not doing much with it, but you could, for example, capture a work environment as long as the environment that you're capturing is static, it's non-moving, then this works perfectly for that, and then you can layer other things in. So, for example, you could have a work site captured in full detail and then put a model of a crane in it, and you have a photoreal work site you can walk around in, and then a crane you can operate from within that.
Does that work? Does Gaussian splatting,
Yeah.
Does that work with like digital twins and stuff like that?
Yeah. Okay. You can blend it, and there's actually some indications that they're doing a little bit of blending already and are heading towards doing more blending. Up until now, it's been kind of a proof of concept, a really pretty way to explore environments, but they are starting to learn ways to make them more practical, and a lot of it has to do with blending in things. So, yeah, I'm really excited for the potential there.
So one of the questions that they were asking is, it's static.
Yes.
So would you be able to, in the future at some point, I know last time you said other programs do this and you guys did a demo, but could you pick up things and move them around within the workshop?
At the moment, no. The way it's being captured, no. But that's kind of some of the hybrid stuff I'm talking about. Another technique called photogrammetry actually does figure out the geometry and the surfaces and texture those. And with those, you could pick things up and interact with them. So they are working on blending some of the benefits of photogrammetry with the realism of Gaussian splats. So the answer is right now, no, but probably within the next 6 months to a year, yes. Now, I mean, you do have the problem, all right? I picked up an object, now what's underneath it wasn't captured. So that's things like AI come in, all right? We're just gonna fill in with our best guess. But some really, really interesting work being done on that, I believe at Stanford right now. There's a really cool. So this is the Meta Ray-Ban displays. They're available now. Ted's gonna be talking about it in just a bit. Yes.
I had a question
Yeah.
about Gaussian splats.
Yes.
Can the visuals captured be adjusted for things like shading or sun angle? One of the things
Traditionally, no.
Simulator is
Yeah.
do you train at noon or do you
Yeah.
train at 3 in the afternoon? Where's the shadow? Where the shadows?
Historically, no, but the stuff that's coming out of Stanford, yes. So they're actually inverting a lot of the way Gaussian splats work, and it's all open source. So if anybody wants to download their work and play with it, you can. They are doing like lighting changes and dynamic shadows and so forth, layering over top of that. So that might interact weirdly with some of the things like reflections and refractions. I'm not sure how that would handle, but for hard surfaces, they can actually do like lighting projection onto them. So. The white paper on it gets pretty technical, but if you want to like dive in, it gets into the nuts and bolts of exactly how that works. Meta Ray-Ban displays, the demos got booked all the way out to I think February, almost immediately, and the TED, they were sold out within what, half an hour? What?
Yeah, half an hour they were sold out.
Within half an hour of opening, they were sold out. So. Yeah, no, the production numbers were lower than they should have been, but. So, nevertheless, there's quite a lot of demand, and that's even with them having some technical hiccups demoing it at Connect. It's the wristband we were talking about that does the electromyography. All right, and on that note, I'm going to hand over to Ted.
Okay, cool. So this one is more personal than like technical or industry-wide or anything. It kind of focuses on my experience and just the general. The general research I've done around it and keeping an eye on the industry and things. One thing that's interesting about the release of the Meta display glasses that's different from what I've seen with the other ones like the Oculus 3, the 3S, the 2, the Rift, and all that is you couldn't pre-order and you couldn't buy it through the website on the day that it was available. All you could do was book a demo. And that seemed to be the only way to do it, but there was some confusion there as well. Like Best Buy were listed for demos that you could get booked directly through the Meta website, but they were gone like immediately. Like I started looking during Connect when they were making the announcement of it, and I still was barely able to get in with Sunglasses Hut. But apparently Best Buy didn't even have them on launch. Through Best Buy, what you would do is you'd go in, you do your demo, they would give you a link, and then you could order through the website. So, yeah, so Connect, I'm tracking it. I'm out on vacation. I'm coming back the day that it launches, and I'm trying to figure out, how it's going to work out. Barely made it, and as soon as Connect started, I'm looking for what can I do to get in there. I was able to book an appointment with the Sunglasses Hut. They open at 10. I got a 11 o'clock slot, then a 10 o'clock slot later on because I went back in, luckily. But I called them the day before, and they were, it was mass chaos there. Day before, the day of. Person's like, you can come at 9:30. That's when our guys will be here. You can check with them just to double check and see. So I get there about 9:30, hang out for a little bit, actually go to the store at 9:50, and there's already a line outside. There's a guy who's at the front of the line who's been there since 6 a.m. There's a guy who drove in from another state, and there are people inside the store. And I'm like, they told me I had the first appointment, so I'm like, kind of what's going on here? And they're like, oh yeah, they opened up early, they changed their mind. They're gonna sell them to people who don't have demos booked. So people who had slots, like anyone after the slot that I had was not able to buy it during their demo. I didn't even get a demo. My demo let me kind of skip the line that was there, get in, get the glasses. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get them, probably. Like I said, they had 12 glasses at Sunglasses Hut. Best Buys didn't have them, so that's 12 for all of Houston, which is insane. But they kind of seemed like they underestimated the demand that was going to be happening for them. The Oculus, or was it the Pro version of the Quest that didn't go over well. So I guess they were kind of a little more reserved this time. But yeah, within half an hour, all of them gone. I think there were maybe about 10, if not a couple dozen people in line there at the launch. But luckily I was able to get in there. I didn't know for sure if I was going to get them, but since I saw that was probably going to be the only opportunity for a while, I just went ahead and went for it.
For people with later slots, they let you put your name on a list, and they would get them to you in the order that people asked.
Yeah. So one of the prevalent reason for the demos seemed to be the sizing of the tech. So the glasses came in 2 sizes. There's standard and a large frame, and they had 3 sizes for the bands. So you'd get in there, they'd size your band, they let you try on one of the glasses, and then they're like, okay, these are where you're at. Okay, so it was mass chaos going on in there. It was kind of in and out, in and out, in and out. Supposed to be a demo, which I ended up doing later on through Best Buy, where you could kind of try it out, test it out. They didn't even turn it on for me. They sized it, they sent me to the front and sent me out.
So you had to go to Best Buy
to do the actual demo, yeah. But they have displays there at Best Buy where they've got like a little meta section. They've got a band sizing, like little tool. It's kind of got all the different sizes on it. It's a long band, so you can put your arm in there, see what size you are. So that's good if you want to check that early. But their slots, like Eric said, they're booked up crazy. There was rumor that they had expanded the slots at one point to add them so more people could get in, but they were still going super fast. But that was also the only way to get the prescription lenses, which they have +4.
So was black the only color for now?
Yeah. Yeah, shiny black too. That's
yours are the large ones?
Yeah.
They look good. I mean, I like the look
Thanks. Yeah, actually, at Best Buy, I was able to try both sizes. They didn't make a difference for seeing the display just for how they looked as you're wearing them. Yeah.
Okay, what was the temperature range, +4 to -4?
To -4. Yeah, so they're out of the range for me. So I've got contacts on underneath, which is wild.
So is anything on your screen right now?
No. Not yet. Yeah, but so yeah, not much to the box. Everyone's kind of doing the Apple thing where it's nice little opening presentation and everything. And yeah, you've got some of the specs there. So it is a color display, which is a big deal for the AR space. A lot of the other people in the space are doing single color. You see a lot of green going on. So that's one of the things that caught my attention. The camera, which is awesome. I've been using the regular Ray-Bans, the Wayfarers without the display for photos. And one of the things that really excites me with having a camera in glasses like these is that when you go out, I'm tired of seeing this. Whenever you go to an event, a concert, any kind of presentation or anything, that's the whole crowd. That's all you see. So the glasses, having the camera in them, allows you to be more present and also makes it a lot easier for you to capture the moment too.
So do you just take the photo of what you see? Is the camera, like whatever you're looking at is the photo shot you get?
Well, that's the difference, a big difference too in the display in it. So if I do a gesture to activate the glasses, got the camera on now, so I can see in the corner a preview of what's coming through the camera. Right now it's like just the floor right here. And if I take a picture, you can see the light flash. So, were you able to see it?
Just briefly, not really, but I wasn't.
Okay, so if
do like
right
zoom
here
and so forth to
you're out of frame. It's kind of centered right there.
Yeah.
If I take the picture,
Yeah, I saw it.
yeah,
Okay.
So you see like an actual frame in your
yes,
So that indicates this is where the image is going to be.
right,
Well,
yeah, and
that's a full
afterwards I'll
And you can like zoom in, zoom out, use like a pinch to twist.
right, yeah, and afterwards I'll have them up here, so or wherever I kind of set up, so anyone who wants to check it out, see what it's like, go ahead. Yep.
So like, do you have a problem when you're outside? Like, there might be glare. Like, what? Like, is there like safety precautions for that?
So there are video glasses that display a video on. I've been experimenting with those, kind of inside, outside. Those usually go to around 1,000, 2,000 nits of brightness. These are 5,000 nits. So outside, no problem with brightness or anything like that. And you can also adjust the brightness through the glasses as well. So usually I keep them at about 25%. They're so bright, 10 to 25%. It's only direct sunlight where it even starts to become an issue, but even then you can still see it pretty clearly.
So how big are I was just thinking in my brain, like, you're like, I'm tired of seeing people doing this. Should we be preparing ourselves for people doing strange things with their hands? Like, how big of a motion do you have to do?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, were you able to tell earlier? I mean, I took a couple pictures. Basically, it's just this. So the screen is disabled right now, so gestures aren't active, but that's taking a picture.
The nice thing
But-
is that because it's not being
Yeah.
done optically, you can have your hand down by your side or even in your pocket and still operate.
Yeah, but there is the light indicator. So whenever I take a picture, that light's gonna flash and there's no way to turn that off. You can't block it. It's built into the hardware where if it detects that it's blocked, it won't take the picture. If you're shooting video, it flashes. Yeah, so like Eric's saying, when you have the camera up, you can pinch and turn, kind of like turning a dial, and that zooms in. It's up to 3x zoom. But it is portrait mode, which kind of sucks, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit later, because it's all built around the Facebook ecosystem.
Is the zoom digital or is it actual an optical zoom?
It's, I believe it's a digital zoom. Yeah. Uh-huh. Or you stand in front of a mirror. Yeah, technically it can work if you're not wearing them. You can hold them out and take a picture, but there is wear detection on it, so you'd have to, in some cases, you have to disable the wear detection. Or, it's fast enough before it auto like turns off or goes into sleep mode. But yeah, I've accidentally while taking them on or off, snapped a picture. Okay. So yeah, just with the before the display glasses, every picture was coming up, pushing the button. It's a picture. It's still really fast moving. It's still much faster than taking out your phone, bringing up the camera, snapping a picture. But with the gestures, so much faster. Okay, so this is where where I hear a lot of people talking about buy it for what it is, not what it's gonna be. And it's very limited in what you can do with it. But the use cases, as niche as they are still pretty compelling. Like text messages is a good thing. They pop right up. With the non-display glasses, you'll get an audio indication of a message coming in, and you can tell it to read it out to you, which still a little bit time involved in that. With the glasses, it'll pop right up. You can see the message, you can read it, you can respond to it, you can dictate to it. What's coming is where they showed in a demo where you could just write on any surface and write it out, so it's even more low key, but that's not available right now. They only showed being able to do messaging with their apps, so WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram, but it does work with text messages from your phone, which is awesome. Navigation, turn by turn, it's walking only, so I guess if you're in a new city or something like that on vacation, it would be useful, but you can't use it in the car. So, I mean, it's kind of pretty limited right now. Meta AI, that's awesome. If you're having a conversation with somebody, you're trying to think of an actor's name or a location or an event that's coming up, anything like that, you can just ask the glasses instead of, oh man, what's that thing? What's that thing? So that's been pretty handy.
I know the demo didn't go very well, but they were showing off the ability to look at something and it would know the context. You could ask, and I've got all these ingredients in front of me, how do I cook a particular sauce? Is that live or is that something that's, so you can do that? You can know what you're looking at.
There are two different versions of that. Okay. There's a live mode where it's always looking at what you're looking at and you can have conversations with it. And then there's the regular mode that's been back from before the previous generation, where you ask it about what you're looking at and it'll take a picture and then it'll use that for context.
So it will, right now it'll take a picture in the live mode. I'm just thinking, you got a paper in front of you that may have a really interesting question on it.
Yes. Yeah.
No flash going on, or you're doing this on the side.
Yeah, you could absolutely have a problem in front of you and ask it to solve it for you, and it would do it.
How much did you say?
So, translation and live cap. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Right now it's dictation. You can choose to send it or not send it.
So it's like it spells a name wrong. You just can't send it at all.
Yeah, and also I believe it has some like quick selections, like a thumbs up or sounds good or something like that you can choose to send instead of dictating something out.
Have they given a timeline for their text entry gestures?
They have not. They've been pretty close-chested on what's on the next stuff to come out, especially the SDK, which I'm really waiting to get a hold of. Yeah. That's where these become powerful.
Sure. If you can write your own software for it, then that's something that becomes really interesting.
Right. So translation. Right now, that's pretty limited. It's got English, Spanish, Italian, and French. So, I mean, Houston Spanish is pretty handy, but a lot of the other glasses in the field. I mean, they're throwing out as many different languages as they can. You'll see like 89, 90 different languages on some. So it's pretty surprising that they're not really pushing that. I'm sure there's a reason for that. They haven't told us what it is. They don't have to do it because even with what's there, it's still pretty compelling. And it's really powerful too, what you can use it for. I tested it with a Spanish TV show, and it was able to translate for me.
In live time?
Live, yeah.
With subtitles.
Just
Yeah.
subtitles in your glasses?
Yeah, I had the subtitles up on the screen and subtitles in the glasses, and they were pretty close.
And there was no indication light-wise or anything else?
Right. Yeah, like if I if I do this gesture right now, so now I can see the display. Well, that's the camera, but if I go back and enable live captions, so captions is up right now. So I've got it going. If someone was in front of me talking to me, this is all that they would see as far as what's on the screen.
And when it's translating, is there a lag? Or is it quick?
Tiny bit of lag, but not noticeable. It's enough to be able to follow along. Right. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's not like, if you're using like Google Translate on the phone, which is awesome, but there's gonna be that pause where you're both looking at the phone, waiting for it to come in, and then you've gotta read it, or you've gotta hit the button to have it read it out. Yeah, it's much faster than that.
Okay, cool. They demoed it translating written text, like looking at a menu and things like that. Is that live or is that still future?
That's supposed to be live. I haven't tested it out yet. But yeah, on the
That'd be
display.
really cool. There's a lot of restaurants in town that don't actually have a lot of English on the menus, and that would be really helpful.
Right. Yeah. The way they showed that is it would take a picture and it would overlay the text over it, kind of like Google Lens does or Google Translate for images that you send through there. Phone calls, the closed captioning and the live captioning and the translation, amazing features for it right now that are amazing. I tested it out where there was a speaker across the room, like maybe about where about where that TV is, way down on the other side. He's got a microphone, he's talking, there's speakers kind of all over the place. I tested closed captioning out, picked it up just fine. So they tell you to have the person right in front of you talking to them, like it's kind of directional, picking up off the microphones, but as long as you can hear it, glasses can hear it, and they can translate it or they can caption it. And yeah, that.
They only caption what everyone is saying, not your voice. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that the targeted where it's actually using the microphone is supposed to be if you're in a crowded room, and also it focuses in on them because it can pick up the spatial positioning for the audio.
So you didn't have to train it with your voice, like ignore my voice.
Right, no, it's just based on the microphone positioning. It seems to be.
There's supposed to be a conversation focus feature where if you're in a noisy environment and you're talking to someone, it amplifies the person that you're talking to.
Right.
Is that live yet? Or
That's not live yet. Yeah.
Because that's actually one of the features I do poorly in really loud environments. It takes a lot of focus to understand what the person I'm talking to is saying. And the idea that it could pick out their voice and amplify it is really, really
Exactly, yeah. Looking forward to that one as well, for sure. And phone calls, that's a big thing. These are my daily drivers. Whenever I leave the house, I throw these on. It's great to just have out when I'm out in the world, but when I'm at home, I'm using the ones without the display. They've got a little bit longer battery life, but phone calls, it's kind of like having a Bluetooth headset on, like back in the day. If anybody remembers that, walking around with that all the time. But since it's open ear, it's not blocking out the environment from you. And it's still, you can hear clearly. The person hears you pretty clearly too. So it's great for phone calls.
Can people next to you hear the call you're on, or not so much?
It's very, very little to no bleed over. Like I'll play music or do demos while I'll have music playing. It's pretty loud for me, but the person will have to be like within 3 feet of me to be able to hear it. Okay. And if I turn it down to half volume, they can't hear it at all.
Okay. And is it like a speaker or is it like one of those like bone?
That's a speaker, directional speakers on the side that are shooting down towards your ear. Yeah.
Does your phone need to be on you for it to make phone calls, or do the glasses operate as a calling device all on
Yeah, they work as calling on their own, the voice command.
So do you have to have a second plan?
No, it's just like a Bluetooth headset as far as the phone's concerned.
So wait a time.
So you do have to have your phone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Or nearby, yeah. Or, oh, no, yeah. No, yeah, your phone still has to be within Bluetooth range.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So when you're wearing your old one, do you find long for your new one?
No, most of what I'm doing around the house, the ones without the display is fine. Yeah, and I'll kind of get into that too, because I've all the different types that there are for like the display or non-display smart glasses, and the best use cases that I've found for them. Okay, so yeah, this found one person talking about this, which was really interesting, and that's that the glasses, the regular smart glasses, the display smart glasses, they're not really products for us. They're a test bed for Meta, which is why you see them so locked down. The camera taking pictures in landscape mode was what people asked for immediately, what they've been asking for since then, and Meta's made no attempt to even address it, because all their stuff uses portrait mode. So it's we're just kind of beta testers for them, which it's still cool and it's useful for us, but that kind of explains a little why they aren't addressing a lot of these concerns. Okay, so gestures for the band. You still have all the side of the glasses controls that you get with the non-display ones. So there's like tap, double tap, triple tap. There's sliding left and right for like volume control or going back and forth between music or things like that. Through the band, you get, like I said, double tap on your thumb and middle finger to enable or disable the display. You have accept with the index finger tap. You've got back with the middle finger, single tap. And then you also have swipe gestures with your thumb on your index finger. You can swipe left, right, up, and down. And then, of course, there's the pinch and zoom for zooming in with the photos or for adjusting like the brightness or the volume. And there are tutorials for it when you're setting up the glasses. There's tutorials through the Meta app for it. There are tutorials on the Meta website. And within the glasses, there's a section for tutorials as well where we'll guide you through the gestures. All right, so yeah, but the prices, of course, and other than the size of the glasses and the size of the band, how many more options after that? Like you're asking about different colors, things like that. And these are the only places I've found in Houston that have them available, which through the Meta website, you can book the demo for any of the Best Buys, but like I said, they're gonna be way out there. The Sunglasses Hut, they seem to be a little bit looser with it, where you can just kind of roll in there, but to take a look at them. But for the demos, those are booked through their website as well. Okay, so yeah, setup's pretty fast and easy, well guided, lots of different options. And yeah, there's a little mini game on there that uses the left, right, up, down kind of gesture D-pad that you have. It's a little swipe game, it's a puzzle game, it's kind of interesting. Can give you some ideas for some different kind of things you can build when the SDK comes out. Let's see. Yeah, the toolkit, I've signed up for it as soon as they announced it on Connect Day. I haven't heard anything yet. It seems to be pretty closed down, but once it's opened up, yeah, it'll be fun times. Let's see. Yeah, I can skip past that. So this, I never really hear anyone talking about this. I watch dozens of videos on the Ray-Ban glasses, on video glasses, on just other types of display glasses, and your nose bridge makes a huge difference on your experience with the glasses. If you've got a high nose bridge or a nose bridge, it's going to cut off part of the display for you normally. And you have to make adjustments to where the glasses sit on your face to compensate for that. So if you imagine your actual visible part being between the green line or the green oval there, the next line up, that whole part can be cut off from view, or half of it cut off. If you have a low nose band, then you can add a nose pad or something to lift the glasses up. In that case, the top would be cut off. So you just lift the glasses up and then you could get a full view of the display. But if you've got a high nose band, you can't push the glasses down any further. So it makes it a lot harder to find that sweet spot where you can see everything. You have to have the glasses ride lower on your face or take them off of your ears and drop them down lower than where they would sit behind your ear. So that's something to really keep in mind and to check out if you're in the market for any pair of glasses that have a display on them. Because it's not something you don't really come across you don't come across in VR because the field of view is so large. All right, so these are kind of all the ones that I've been keeping an eye on around display glasses, smart glasses or video glasses. So X-Real and Vitcher, they're kind of neck and neck for video glasses. They are the only ones right now that can play video content. You can connect it to your phone, to a gaming device, so like a Switch or anything like that. You can connect it to your computer, your laptop, get a much larger screen. Be great for like on the airplane or at a Starbucks or something where you're wanting to get some work done or just watch something and not have people just kind of all up in your in your stuff. And the big difference I've seen between them, the X-Reals, they're really pushing towards anchoring. So 3 degrees of freedom, 6 degrees of freedom, which is a big thing on the VR side. So those hit a little bit better in the productivity side. Because when you've got video glasses, being able to see in the corners can be very hard if you can't anchor the screen. Because one, some of them tend to blur at the edges, but also it's kind of like trying to look at something in your peripheral view without turning your head. Because the screen stays with you, so you can't really turn your head. Makes it a lot harder to see. But for media, for gaming, where your focus is kind of on the whole screen in general, Vitchers are great because they're much brighter. So they work a lot better in any kind of environment. The difference between the Ray-Ban Gen 2s and the displays that I see, so like I said, the longer battery life means you're not worried about charging it much. The cameras actually, I've seen mixed information on the camera with the difference between them. I think they have the same camera, the same 12 megapixel camera. Is that right? Yeah. But anyway, the battery life is the bigger thing. So the Gen 2s be great for being out, taking photos, having general access to AI, having the audio for phone calls or for playing media, music. And then, yeah, the Rokids are one that I'm watching. It's coming up. They just finished their Kickstarter. They're dual displays. So one concern that's been coming up with these glasses and the mono display is how that's going to affect eye strain. Since one eye is more active than the other. Something I took into consideration, but I probably jumped to the next generation fast enough that won't be a big deal, but it is something to keep in mind. Though since it's Kickstarter, they're an established company, so they're gonna come to market. It's just a matter of when, and with anything through Kickstarter, it can take a long time between when the campaign ends and when shipping starts. Okay, So yeah, these are kind of some of them too. The first two, the Loomis and the Look Tank, they were touting the same features as the Ray-Ban non-display, except they have access to a wider variety of LLMs. So you can use like OpenAI, Claude, Gemini in them instead of being locked down to Meta AI. Their Kickstarters have both ended. They're going through production now, but they're kind of starting out. So they're the growing pains of trying to figure out production on a product that's this minimalized. So that's caused a lot of delays. Kind of Rocket, they should have easier on the manufacturing side, but still going to be a while. And then of course Project Muhan comes out, or is supposed to be announced next week, which live right now on their website is booking for demos. There's a Samsung store at the Galleria. They're accepting demos now, and you can book a reserve a slot to have the option to purchase it. And when you reserve the slot, then you can book a demo with them. And those demos started on the 22nd, I believe. So there's no telling where they are now. They're probably kind of filling up because that's the only place in Houston you can get them. But
the city you pointed me at, and I got one for the first day.
Yeah.
They were starting to fill.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that, even you can reserve it and not buy it. You get $100 off if you reserve it. But getting that demo and getting to try it out, it sounds pretty cool. And then of course the Apple glasses, which are way out now that they've kind of given up on, or for now at least, on the light version of the Pro or the Vision. And of course all the other Android XR stuff that'll start rolling out over the next couple years. All right, and that's pretty much it. Any other questions?
What are your concerns about this? Like, when we're talking through this, there's a myriad of alarming things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Meta is not who you want to have access to all this data. Yeah. But I've kind of made peace with that. I haven't given up the fight, of course. SDK is going to give you access to be able to build your own stuff, send your own data where you want it to go. So that's going to be a big deal. But yeah, for now, it's just kind of, you can try to avoid the privacy thing, but even if you don't do it, everyone around you is, going to do it some way. So pictures are going to be taken of you.
A simultaneously incredibly useful and incredibly alarming note. Michael Abrash and Zuckerberg said that an always-on AI mode is coming, where it's just watching constantly and understanding your environment constantly. So it can be super responsive and answer all of your questions. And
yeah, but it could also be like, hey, who's that guy? Tell me everything you know about him.
Right.
Oh, they've already been doing that. Okay. When the first generation of the Ray-Ban glasses came out, this team of college students, I think it was MIT, they linked it into the back end, like through some software wizardry, because you can stream to Instagram. So if you have a computer watching that, then they had, I think that's how one of the ways, or one of the parts of the process they had it going, but they had that go into facial recognition and that go into like ID lookup, so they could basically pull near real time information of someone that they were looking at and feed that back to them. Yeah, so we're definitely entering like Black Mirror territory here. But you can fight it, embrace it, or figure out ways to make it work for you. Yeah, and of course, like I said, I've got I'll be demoing the glasses if you want to check them out. I've got the Gen 2 Ray-Bans as well. If you want to see the size difference, they are a little bit bigger than the other ones. Weight-wise, you may notice it when you put it on, but after you've been wearing it for a while, either one of them, you don't really notice it that much. Yeah.
Thank you, Ted. Mm-hmm. We will definitely be hoping for a follow-up once some of these other features go live.
Yeah.
So, really appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, That's it. Feel free to hit Ted up for demos, or if there's questions for anybody, drop on by. Otherwise, have a good night.